shall overcome, we shall overcome, we shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We shall overcome.
Fellow countrymen and women, compatriots and aliens, today marks the end of colonization for our country and indeed the beginning of liberty for the people of Barotseland. Surely our history, norms and values clearly testifies that we are one of the oldest African nations. Though we have been victims of subjugation and domination, however, in accordance with the International Bill of Human Rights, we are obliged as a people to determine the destiny of our country and nation. Fellow compatriots, there is no justifiable reason to subject the Barotseland nation to another fellow African country. Antecedent: Barotseland is a geo-African country, state and nation that has been so named and recognized as such. In this respect, those falling short of knowledge can visit archives of the countries of the superpowers for confirmation. Barotseland was a British protectorate during 1890 to 1964, and a protectorate by British standard of laws is an area the soil of which does not belong to the crown, but the foreign nations of which are subject to its control based on agreement by treaty, grant or capitulation, etc. By 1964, those whites who protected Barotseland left, so the principle of post-millennium was expected to apply to the territory of Barotseland, but instead the British Crown colony of Northern Rhodesia and Barotseland was made to enter into agreement witnessed by the British government. The agreement took the place of the treaties between Barotseland and Britain. Note: parties to the Barotseland Agreement of 1964 were the Northern Rhodesia government and Barotseland. To spice it all, it is essential to realize that the requisites of an agreement are two or more persons, a distinct intention common to both, known to both, referring to legal relations and affecting the parties. The whole purpose of the Barotseland Agreement of 1964 was to provide for the autonomy and the self-determination of Barotseland when the Northern Rhodesia colony was to become independent Zambia. On the contrary, the said agreement did not enter into force. Hence, instead of independence or self-determination, Barotseland was downtrodden and subjugated to the Zambian government. Now that the Zambian government inherited all the obligations of the British government over Barotseland at Zambia's establishment, and by the fact that the Barotseland Agreement took the place of the treaties between Barotseland and Britain, it follows that the Zambian government then becomes a quasi-protector or colonizer. Certainly, if you inherit obligations of the colonizer, you automatically become one. One Zambia, one nation. The school of thought of the simple-minded believe that the purpose of the Agreement of 1964 was to make a unitary state of Zambia out of Northern Rhodesia and Barotseland in 1964. This notion is misleading and is a weak reasoning that can never be accepted, since the law of agreement states that in convention base contra hentiam votus potius quam verba spectari placuit, viz. In concluding agreements, the intention of the parties rather than words actually used should be considered. And since Barotseland Agreement is taken into the light of a treaty, the law of treaties states that the agreement that has not entered into force is not legally binding. Besides, no treaty can change the character of the assenter, so Barotseland was to remain the same. That the agreement was not ex eco et bono entered into by the Zambian government is evident, considering Mr. Kaunda's deceitful acts. Any suggestion that Barotseland merged with Zambia in 1964 is a rebuttable presumption. Arguing on the preamble, it was not in the spirit and intent of the act of law as shown by the preamble of the 1964-1965 Constitution to establish a unitary state of Zambia comprising Barotseland. It is quite evident that the amendment to the preamble in 1996 to read unitary was done with intent to possess and occupy Barotseland as a res nullis, that is, onerous thing. Otherwise, why was the preamble changed? Furthermore, one is confronted with a question such as, did Barotseland become part of Zambia in 1996? However, we appreciate the legal norm, omnia prasamanta legitime facta donec probata in contrarium. That is, all things are presumed to have been legitimately done until the contrary has been proved. Corollary, we view one Zambia, one nation as a basis slogan, considering that legal axiom states as follows: Quod contra legam fit pro infecto hebeta. That is, what is done contrary to law is deemed not to have been done at all. Therefore, to argue that Zambia was a unitary state at its establishment is to parade one's folly. Omitted in the Constitution of Zambia of 1964 is the provision: the agreement cited as Barotseland Agreement 1964 shall come into force on the day on which Northern Rhodesia, together with Barotseland, become the independent sovereign republic of Zambia. Thus, the relation was similar to that of cohabitation. Now that the true position of Barotseland is explicitly shown by the foregoing, we believe that no Baros national shall conceive deception anymore, and realizing that the principle of obi jusi id medium, viz. Where there is a right, there is a remedy, we shall have the right to secure Barotseland. Finally, we realize that restitutio in integrum, that is, restoration to the original position, the remedy administered by court of equity in rescinding a contract or otherwise placing parties in the position they occupied before entering into a transaction could apply to Barotseland. But since such a court cannot be found in Zambia, and knowing that Zambia depends on the law of succession to occupy Barotseland, and the agreement was rescinded by Act of Parliament Bill number 5, it is prudent for us to state without hesitation that Barotseland is from now henceforth declared officially to be an independent sovereign kingdom to be governed by her own people, and the head of state shall be no other than the Litunga. So the strong appeal is made to all Barotseland nationals to cooperate with the Barotseland government to be put in place soon. God bless.